Hey guys, today we are going to start our new unit and it goes over transformations. So today we're just going to talk about the basics, the 4 types of transformations that we'll do in this unit. So we're on pages 1 and 2 in our notes. So go ahead and get that out so you can follow along with us. Okay, so when I think of transformations, I kind of think of like that movie Transformers. So basically like whenever they go from, cars to robots and stuff like that. So we're basically just changing things. Transformations means to change something. So in math, we can do transformations with shapes and figures. And to transform a shape, that just means to change it. Okay. In general, we can change the size of a figure or a shape, the location of it on a picture, and the direction that it's facing. The shape or figure before the transformation is called the pre-image. Okay, so any picture before we call the pre-image, and we will label that sometimes just with a letter to notate that. Then after we've done something, after we've changed it or transformed it, we call this the image. Or we call it sometimes the new figure. Then to show and notate that it has changed somehow, we will notate it as A with a little tick mark, and we pronounce that as A prime. So that little tick mark, we call that A prime. Okay, so the way I remember it is the before, we call the pre-image, and we'll label it as A. And then after we do something to it, we call that our image, and we notate it with an A prime. So this entire unit is talking about different types of transformations. Okay, so we're going to look at different pictures and kind of see if we can figure out what these are called. Okay, so I first look for the pre-image. The pre-image is the picture notated with just a letter. Okay, and then I look and I see, and it's been transformed somehow, and it's now A prime. So when I look at them, they don't really look like they've changed sizes or anything. It just kind of looks like it just moved down. Okay, so when we just move things, those are called translations. Okay, sometimes I call it just sliding. Okay, then we have another transformation. This one looks a little bit different because it's a winky face, and here's the B, the pre-image, and we transform it to become B prime. And if I look at the little winky face, the wink is on the left side, and then if I look at the after picture, the winky face is on the right side. So it kind of looks like it just flips over. So this is called a reflection. Okay. And the keyword I kind of use is like a mirror or a flip. Okay. Next we have this picture. It's in sunglasses. We have the pre-image right here. I see that just with this C. And then I look at the image, the after picture with the C prime. And I notice that again, it's the same size. All that happened is that it kind of just turns a little bit. Okay, so we call that a rotation. And the keyword, I kind of just say a turn. It turns. All right, finally, we have our little guy with a wink and a tongue out, and it transforms into D prime. Okay, and this is the only time I've really noticed it's changed shape. Okay, so it's this picture got a lot smaller, or it could get bigger. There's a different way of doing that. So this is called a dilation. And the keywords is it can get bigger, it can enlarge, or it could be a reduction. Okay, so those are our 4 basic transformations that we'll talk about this unit. Okay, so then where do you see transformations in the real world? Okay, I want you guys just to write some down that you maybe have seen: a translation, a reflection, a rotation, and a dilation. Okay, so for a translation, I think of sliding. So I kind of sometimes think of an escalator or an actual slide. Okay. Reflections, I think of just a mirror. If I'm looking in the mirror, it's that picture flipped. Okay. Rotations, I kind of think of door handles. And dilations, I always think of like whenever I go to the eye doctor and they dilate my eyes, so then they can see inside them. Hopefully you guys wrote down some other ideas too, but now we'll go to page 2. Okay, the last thing we're going to talk about today is congruence and orientation. So we have congruence, and that might be a new word, but congruence refers to whether or not a figure has the same shape as well as the same size after a transformation. So it is congruent if it stays the same shape and it stays the same size. Okay? Then we have orientation, and there are 2 different types of orientation that we can have. We can have orientation of the figure, and that refers to whether or not the figure is facing the same direction on the coordinate plane after a transformation. So orientation of the figure, I like to think of it, is it facing the same way? Okay. Then we can also talk about the orientation of the vertices, which is the points that make up a figure. Okay. And orientation of the vertices refers to the order in which the vertices are labeled clockwise or counterclockwise. So we'll talk about what this means. Orientation of the vertices, I like to remember order. Okay. Okay. So what we're going to do is there are 4 different transformations that occur, and we're going to just talk about what orientation of the figure, orientation of the vertices means, and see if we can kind of figure out overall what these mean. Okay, so we have this triangle ABC. I know this is the pre-image or the before picture because there's none of those little tick marks, so there's no prime marks. Okay, and then I see the after picture, C prime, B prime, A prime. Okay, so if I just kind of think about what happened, okay, I can kind of just look at one vertice, and I see that it's on the left side, and it kind of looks like it just flips over to A prime being on the right side. So when I think of flipping over, I think of a reflection. Okay. So now it asks the size. Okay, basically it's asking us, is this congruent? Okay, is this the same shape? Is this still a triangle? Yes. Is it the same size? Yes. So it is congruent. Okay. Now it says orientation of the figure. Okay, and what I wrote right here is facing. So is this facing the same way after we transformed it? And so what I could do is I could just look at A. Okay, it's on the left side, and when I transform it, it's now facing on the right side. And so because it's not facing the same way anymore, these are not the same. Okay, so the orientation of the figure changed. Okay, finally, we have orientation of the vertices. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to write this triangle, the vertices of it. Okay, and I always go clockwise just because that's what makes sense in my brain. So I'm going to start alphabetically. I'm going to start with A, and then I'm going to go to the right, B, C. Okay, then I have this transformed figure, okay, and I'm just going to start with A again, A prime, and now I'm going to go again clockwise. So I see C prime and then B prime. Okay, so when it says orientation of the vertices, did these stay the same? Okay, ABC transformed to A prime, C prime, B prime. So this also changed. Okay. Now for our second transformation, okay, we have triangle ABC. And first just like to look at it and kind of see what happened. Again, I like to look at A. You can look at any point really. And it looks like it's just the same picture, just kind of scooted over to the right. Okay, it doesn't look like it flipped over. It just kind of looks like it's the same exact picture, just moved over. So it looks like if it just slid over or moved over, this is probably a translation. Okay, the size. Is this congruent? Is it the same shape? Is it the same size? Yep. So we would call this congruent. Okay. Orientation of the figure. So right now it's asking, is it facing the same direction after we transformed it? So again, you could look at A or look at any side if you'd like. So if I look at A, it's on the left side on the bottom. And when I transformed it, it's still on the left side on the bottom. So we did not do anything to the way it is facing. So it stayed the same. Okay, the last thing is the orientation of the vertices. So we have this triangle ABC. Again, I always start with A or the first letter it starts with, and then I go clockwise BC. Okay, then I look at the transformed picture, start with A prime, and I go clockwise B prime, C prime. So when I look at these, the order in which the vertices are labeled has not changed either, so they stayed the same. All right, the third picture, we again have triangle ABC. Okay, and I just kind of look and see, do I notice what's happened? And I look at A, kind of looks like it's still just in the same order, but it looks definitely smaller. Okay, so if it gets smaller or bigger, we call that a dilation. We have dilated it. In this case, we've made it smaller. Okay, now for the size, ABC is the same shape as A prime, B prime, C prime, but it's not the same size. So they are not congruent. Okay, the orientation of the figure. Again, figure facing, okay? Is this still facing the same way? And if I look at A to A prime, it's still in the bottom left. So we did not change the way that it's facing. So it stays the same. Okay. Finally, we have the orientation of the vertices order. Okay, so we have A, B, C. We transformed it to make it A prime, go in clockwise order, B prime, C prime. Again, the order of these vertices does not change, so the orientation of the vertices stayed the same. Okay, finally, we have this last one. We have triangle ABC. Again, I just like to see, can I figure out what's happened to it, okay? And I notice that A is in the bottom left, and it looks like it's just completely turned around. Okay, if I think of a turn, I think of a rotation. Okay, so again, we have to ask ourselves these last three things. Size, is it congruent? Is it the same shape? Yep. Is it the same size? Yep. So this is congruent. Okay. Orientation of the figure. Is it figure facing the same way? If I look at A, it's down in the bottom right. We transformed it, and now A prime is in the top right. Oh, sorry, is in the bottom left, and we transformed it to the top right. So it is not facing the same way. So it has changed. Okay. Finally, we look at the orientation of the vertices, the orientation of the order of the vertices. So A, B, C. Again, I'm going to start with A prime. Okay. Then I'm going to go clockwise because I went clockwise with this one. B prime, C prime. And again, the order did not change, so that stayed the same. Okay. I would make sure that you have this all written down because your assignment today is a Go formative, where the last problem has this thing right here where it's asking you to find. So today you just have a Go formative where you're just identifying what transformations are taking place and then talking about congruent and the orientation of the figure and the vertices. All right, see you guys tomorrow.